Lois, you're
Still
on
hear
mute.
that tune?
How's everybody? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, I'm here. Right, tonight, guys, first things first, as you notice, there's a U face on the panel. I am not saying his name in a hole because I can't say it and it ends up coming out as Gorilla for some reason. So I'm going to go with Chris. He is the new host of To the Grave and Back. And then we've got the most handsomest man I've ever met from Canada with us tonight. We have Wes Coleman. Wes, thank you so much for coming. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
So how's everyone's weeks?
It's been pretty good so far. Been busy.
I'm sharing. By the way, I'm not ignoring.
I'm sharing as well, love.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you that. Never a dull moment.
Hey, Eric, you did a...
No, but yeah. But hello, everybody.
Eric, it's because I said booby instead of Bobby. He says it's better than coming out booby alone.
Okay.
Hey, Sarah. But yeah, so, Wes, how long have you worked as a correctionals officer?
29 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 29 years, and it's not getting any easier, let me tell you. I'm pretty soon to hang up the boots.
Yeah. I did 14 and a half years, and I went under Captain Detective, and I went under the OSA in America.
Oh, okay.
And I went the civilian side because it paid more money. Then I got back into it and never got shot or stabbed, but then I got hurt and nearly broke my back, and that really took me out. So, yeah, so I do feel for you. I know it's a little different over in Canada than it is in the U.S., law enforcement. So,
well, it really is. It's thank you very much. I don't know if I could do the job in the U.S. Simply because our prisons here, like, we hold a maximum of like 700 or 800 inmates in an institution, where you guys have like 4,000, right?
Oh yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we definitely.
It's like totally different down there.
Yeah.
And you guys don't get paid as well as we do either, which really sucks, because I know I have a lot of friends down there that are COs, and it's really like, you guys need to get paid more for the job that you do. Like, it's ridiculous.
I made all my money off duty, working on off-duty gigs. So.
Oh, okay, well, that's good. Yeah, off-duty gigs mean something different in Canada.
Uh-oh.
If it's anything like I said, then we don't go there.
I wonder why his face lit up when I said off duty. He was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh." I'm like, "Okay." So I found out in UK you cannot say stoked. You get your butt beat. Because I've got EMF.
You can't say what?
Stoked.
Oh,
STOKED. Yeah. Well, I didn't know that, and we was on a show with EMF, Darren Bronson, the EMF.
Hey, Kelly.
Unbelievable. The
Hey,
owner of the
Hey,
band.
Irene.
And we were having a conversation. I was like, "Man, that's stoked," and everybody just like flipped out. They're like, "Man, you are so lucky we're not in a pub." I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "You would have made it out." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So now, when I said that word with you,
it means
see?
So
if I ever visit the UK and I come back with missing teeth and black eyes, you know what happened. I said the wrong thing in the wrong place.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so
let's do it.
Have to school
let's
me.
do it. Let's say it.
What I can say to you guys is, I'll stalk you all, and it means I've got to hit you. Hey, Irene. But it's good to actually have like two sides, one from Canada and people from the US, because I personally, I'm speaking dead posh tonight, I know. I personally didn't know that there was differences in Canada and United States when it comes to prisons. So it'd be an interesting conversation to hear both sides.
Yeah,
Two different worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, because when you told me you was a sovereign citizen and you were traveling and I asked you to get out of your car and you didn't, I'm gonna knock out your glass and drag your ass out, and then you get extra charges. That's the state I worked in. So we had, yes. I mean, I asked you once, but I want to ask you twice. So if you don't come out of that car, I'm pulling you out, and you're coming out through the glass that I'm going to knock out. So, and that's been done many times.
Do you know
so the
my
laws
boyfriend?
are different over here.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was laughing there because you said about sovereign citizens. Because if there's one thing that he watches, it's guys on YouTube slagging. Now there's a big YouTuber in America called Team Skeptic, and he looks at all different flat earthers. He looks at sovereign citizens. Hey Mort, hey Kelly, thanks Irene, and different things. So when you're talking about sovereign citizens, this is what I was trying to ask you, Chris, the other day, right? Was what I'm curious about is, like, in America, well, it's only really America I've seen this. It could happen in Canada as well. But when the judge is reading out someone's name, so for example, I pick on Nick every week, so Nick's just getting picked on again. So Nick is driving with no license because he's a sovereign citizen and he doesn't need a license, right? So he goes to court. This is not real. I don't want the comments jumping. So the next thing you know, the judge reads, "Are you Nick Millay the third?" Right? I'm curious why that happens. Why people put first, second, and third after their names. That's what I was trying to ask the other day with you, Chris. Was why people do that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, so in America, when we book somebody in, and it's probably like Canada too, I'm assuming, there's aliases. So Rosie, goes by Rosie, and she maybe goes by Sarah Connor, Sarah Bruner, or whatever. So when they don't know who you actually are, because they may have other charges against you, they'll put all the names together versus in America, let's say Kentucky versus Rosary Page, Sarah Connor, or AKA Sarah Connor, Joey Bruner, whatever, and it'll just list them all. So that's how they do it here. I don't know how they do it in Canada.
Well, you see, in your example, Grizz, about pulling the guy out, I mean, that would similarly happen here in Canada. But we'd always say, "Could you please get out of the car?" And then if they don't get out of the car, we tell them, "Can you please get out of the car again?" And then if they don't get out of the car again, we say, "Can you please get out of the car?" We keep saying that. Yeah. And then after about 8 times, we'll pull them through the window like you do. And then we'll say thank you because we're Canadian and we always say thank you.
Yeah. So let me tell you my experience. When I was working the city, and we had to go up to we had to go up to New York, Buffalo, New York, and for my dad's mother's funeral. And his brother was like, "Well, let's go to the border and look at Niagara Falls." I'm like, "Well, yeah, let's do that." So we drove up there, and I was driving, and I had 3 firearms on me. And I get out, and it was shift change. And they were like, "You can't park here. It says no parking." And I'm like, we're good. Don't worry about it. So I get out, and I'm holding my badge and ID up, and I'm walking around like nobody's coming up to me at the border. I'm like, something's not right, So I go inside, and this guy from Canada is interrogating this teenager. And I was like, "Hey, how old is she?" And he goes, 19. I was like, "Okay." I was like, "All right." So I'm standing there. And like, "Can we help you?" I'm like, "No, I'm just up here on a funeral." And I was like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so." I was like, "Here's some patches." So I'll start giving out police patches, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, this is so cool." And this guy was trying to get this girl to confess something. So I tapped her on the shoulder and I whispered in her ear. And she started crying, man, and she just sung like a bird. And they try to get a hold of the chief up there. They wanted to take me in the tower up there, the lookout tower. They wanted to, man, they was rolling out the red. I was gone for hours. So my dad and his brother thought I got locked up.
Hey, Lauren.
Yeah.
Lauren.
So I mean, it was hilarious. And one guy was like, "How many guns you got on you? Because we know you're from America and you carry more than one, don't you?" I'm like, "I got 3. So now we're over at the counter where people are getting inspected and we're playing with guns. And nobody's thinking nothing of it. He's like, "Oh, he's just from America. He's okay." And I'm like,
Oh, no,
wow.
no.
So yeah.
Excuse me 2 minutes, Chris. Listen, Baldy, keep your fucking hands off my staff.
Woo.
Don't try to steal my staff, the bastard.
Yeah, so we had a ball. Y'all very nice up there in Canada. I know that. Very nice. So
not like the people from Arkansas though. They're a lot nicer.
Are they? Do they film you all a lot up there still, like they do over here?
Do they what? Sorry?
Do they get their cell phones out and film you and try to instigate you and stuff?
Usually only when I'm stripping.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I start dirty dancing, and man, They flip out and they just turn off their cell phones. They're like, "Dude, this guy's nuts." And I'm like, "They haven't seen nothing yet if you don't get out of this car." So, and they do, and they'll put it up on YouTube, and they're like, "Dude, that is our captain, and he's out there dancing in the street." Well, I'm not bald, but I shaved my hair and grew out my beard for a reason since I got hurt. So I just can't name the agencies I work for because of what I do now with the paranormal and so forth. I don't want to embarrass them. So, but we had a ball. I mean, I got some stories and I know he's got some stories. So, but yes, I know.
We've got only person that would be touching me up would be somebody touching me up.
That just sounds so wrong. I'm sorry.
I'm not five and I'm sitting at the table.
Did I miss something?
My name also. We can go out at midnight and nothing will happen. Irene, I must say, is from Japan. We were speaking to Irene the other night in Simply Spooky. Don't you worry, Scott. You'll be getting tied to a chair and doing the big hill.
I got the cat balls, so they want to touch those, they can play with them.
I must admit, I was quite sceptical at first about cat balls. I laughed personally because I was like, why would anyone have cat balls out with them? But then when I was out with Scott and Robbie, it changed my mind because we went to Lennox Castle, which is a mental asylum, and the cat balls were going off to some tune. It was a great night.
In the studio gets thrown at me, so I have to actually take mine and tape them to my mic and to my stands. They do. My doll throws them at me. During a live show.
I'm laughing at Irene's comments.
Yeah, all right. I was like, no, that's why I keep a tape gun with me and tape, because I will tape one to the mic, so that way when they get mad, they cannot, throw them at me, because they would sit there, because I have another camera, and they would sit there, and I'll be talking, and they would light up, and they would just hit me in the forehead or hit me in the nards, and everybody would just lose it. And they're like, man, this is crazy. Because I got a bunch of haunted dolls above me, so in my studio. See, that's another story.
I wish I could tape my balls to the mic, but I can't do that. So.
I knew that was coming. Oh my Lord, ladies and gentlemen. So all right, so we got to establish this. So all right. So
I don't think it's been notorious. It's our Wes been notorious.
If I ever say in the ditch, here's why. So when I was on county, my lieutenant called me and he was like, Grizzly, I need you to go down there by Walmart and get that flagrant that's down there. It's panhandling. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, LT, I'm like, really? I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, you know how many times we locked this guy up and you know it's not turned off. There we go. It's finally turned off. And I was like, you know, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to book him in for the 27th time. He's got outstanding warrants. He's never paid none of his court costs. He's like, Grizzly, you go down there and pick his butt up right now. And I want you to drive down to so-and-so agency and drop him off on the front doorstep of their agency. And I'm like, really? I get to do that? And this is like 2 counties over. So I go down there, and the guy's like, well, Grizzly, I guess you're taking me to jail. I'm like, oh, hell no, not tonight, brother. I said, you and I are going for a ride. So I handcuffed him, patted him down, threw him in the back. He stunk like hell, you know. And I hit the interstate, and I'm doing $110, and this guy's freaking out. And he's like, where are we going? I'm like, man, you are never coming back. I am tired of messing with you. You're out of here. Nobody's never going to see you again. And he starts praying. Oh, Father, please forgive me. And I'm like, what the hell's he doing? And now he sees we're going to get ready to cross another state. And now he's panicking. He is screaming, let me out. I will never come back. Please don't kill me. He has me laughing so hard. I put my car in a ditch. And yeah, I did. And I got out of it, and he's screaming and crying, begging for his life. Then I get off at the exit right before the state, and there's a big river. It's called the Ohio River, and people drown down there and never come out. So he thought that I was going to take him down there and drown him and murder this guy. So he is screaming bloody murder for his life and everything. I mean, just like going off. You know, please, I'll never do it again and everything. Well, I didn't know it was shift change. So when I pulled into my buddy's police department, they're all out in the parking lot. It's 1:30 in the morning, right? And they're like, what the hell's Grizzly doing here? So I get him out of the car. I throw his bag out next to my buddy's feet. And I take the handcuffs off of him. He's crawling over. Help me. He's going to kill me, guys. He's going to kill me. Help me. Please save me. I'm laughing. I just turned my lights and siren on. I just took off. Man, my buddies wouldn't talk to me for 3 months. They were mad. So that way, if we're ever up in the ditch, you know.
Kelly's got a question for you. Have you ever dabbed in bad cops, Wes?
I'm not really sure what daubed means. So. What does daub?
I don't know what that means either.
I think associate with or know of bad cops.
Oh no, not me. Birds of the feather flock together. So,
Wes, I like the poster in the background. Lauren likes the poster. Wes.
Oh, thank you.
It's a really cool poster.
So, the bad thing about
sorry.
The bad thing about that question. No, you're fine. The bad thing about that question is, and he can vouch for this. So let's say him and I are on the same department, and let's say him and I don't like each other, and I got a hot call, right? And it's a fight call or an active domestic. He knows I'm en route. He's supposed to be coming. Well, guess what? He's going to slow his roll up a little bit. He ain't going to arrive when he should. So I'm going to be by myself getting my butt beat. You see what I'm saying? So that's how they take care of each other, don't they, sir? So we call that slow rolling. Yes. That's why they went to GPSs on cars in America years ago. So that way they can say Grizzly's over here. We're going to send them to this call. So how come Grizzly you're not responding? So, yes. And it kept people from doing the spring chicken thing y'all was saying before the show. What was it called?
I have no idea.
I don't know. Yeah, what would you call it, Wes? In the morning?
Yeah,
the joys of morning.
Yeah. So it kept officers from going home, and doing stuff. So,
what Kelly's trying to actually ask is, have you ever came across a bad cop that you've had to report?
Well, I'm not a police officer, just to make that straight. Like my group is called COPS, which stands for Correctional Officers Paranormal Society. Yeah.
So he isn't actually a cop, Kelly. He's a prison officer, honey. Well, sorry.
Prison
Correct.
officer, yeah.
Prison. Wrong term.
Correctional
So,
officer. I do apologise, Wes. Please forgive me.
No, that's okay. They call them you guys prison officers over there. I think correctional officers.
No, they
Yeah,
call
some-
them correction officers.
Yeah, they're
correction
called.
officer, COs.
It's like
Yeah,
it's
COs.
it's almost like it depends on like where you are. Like some of them are prison. They're called prison officers. Other are corrections officers, and of course some are just simply called guards.
So
No, but I mean in England. In England, they're called prison
Oh, yeah.
officers.
Yeah,
And
in
then,
England and Scotland, Scotland's prison officers as well. But I love the guards. I think that's actually a better term. I like guards.
Yeah, guards is quite a common term, like both in the States, Canada, and pretty much in the world. Like prison guards are kind of the generic term, I guess you would call.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Or
it's
as a lot of people would say, screws.
yeah,
Well, I
heard
didn't
that.
actually want to.
true.
I didn't want to say that. I was going to be nice, but yes.
Well, that's okay.
So what?
I've heard it all.
check
Wes,
this out, guys. What Irene said and what they call them in Japan. Call them
Crows?
crows.
Crows. Oh,
Oh wow, that's
did not know
different.
that.
That's
That's
interesting.
So Wes,
interesting to
tell
know.
us about your paranormal team. Tell us like how you formed and what your team consists of.
Well, I formed the team about 15 years ago. It's changed a lot over the years. We started off being a very evidential team. You know, we were all about the evidence, and things dramatically changed for me over the course of like 3 years after that, when I started, getting information from beyond, so to speak. And I always thought, and I never gave any credence to the fact that, the psychics and that sort of thing, I didn't really believe in, and I didn't believe in this kind of the whole spiritual side of the paranormal until I started, it really changed for me. And then I started getting information that through experiments that I was blown away by. And so it's really changed over the years. But we started with 4 guys, and unfortunately, one of my guys passed away earlier this year at
So
the
sorry,
age of
Wes.
51.
I'm
Sorry
so
to hear
sorry.
And we have another guy that's on long-term PTSD, and he can't go inside any kind of prisons.
Hey,
And
Gav.
we kind of specialize in prisons. And
The boss
we have
lady said, hello.
another guy who retired, and so it's basically
Stands
just
out.
me now, and I'm just going to be, I do a lot of work with other teams and really enjoy that, and kind of freelance right now, which I really enjoy.
It gives you your own freedom as well. Wes, it gives you your own freedom. You can, because I know, I'm not saying all teams, but I know some teams that are very, what's the word? You have to associate with them, but no one else. That's why I like freelance, because I like to be able to mix with other teams. It's almost like being footloose and fancy free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's certainly. I mean, all of our guys, we got along really well. I know there's a lot of teams that, have a lot of drama, and a lot of teams that won't, be with other teams because of that drama, and it goes on and on. And I've been very fortunate to be able to make a lot of contacts in the USA, and I'm a guest every year at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, and I've got to know a lot of great people there, and they invite me out on their investigations, and it's been a great experience just to be out on my own and getting to meet people like all of you, and I know that Nick, I think I remember the first time we ever were in a chat together, and it was something to do with Richard Felix, like he was in the chat too.
Yeah,
and,
you know what? I actually remember exactly what it was. That was when Gemma, when they were doing Entering the Unknown Paranormal podcast,
right.
which sadly I know they haven't really been doing it anymore. Although I did talk to her actually a couple weeks back for the first time in a while. That was when that she had that Christmas. It was a online Christmas party.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So it's been an interesting time for sure. really enjoy doing it. Really enjoy meeting people. I think the biggest thing I always tell people, they always ask me, like, what's your stance with the paranormal? And I always say, just keep an open mind and be open to other people's, because at the first I was very closed off. I was very about empirical evidence. And then I realized there was a lot more to it. And, I really respect a lot of different people's views and how they do things. And just because they're not your own doesn't mean you shouldn't respect them, and it's been a great journey so far.
Right.
Great.
Really quickly, I just want to point out. Hang on one second. Let's. Wes,
Sorry.
if you're going back to Gettysburg Battlefield Bash again. Lawrence just an hour away from Gettysburg.
Oh wow, yeah, definitely come out. It's July 14th to the 16th. This year, every year they have a theme. This year it's, and we were just talking about this strangely enough, but it's Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Christmas
apparently.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. It's always such a great time. Everybody gets along. Like there's no, drama and people bickering and stuff. It's just, and a lot of the people, like, well, Shane Pittman will be there, but most of the people are.
Shane.
Most of them are just down to earth people, and you get to know, like, they've got lots of vendors and equipment, and it's just a lot of fun.
And I just saw
That's
Shane.
my boy. That's my boy.
I just saw Shane last week at the Ohio State Reformatory for Parapsychon, which Lois originally said that, because I know that weekend was like an active weekend for Paracon, so I think she originally mistaken that you were coming to Parapsychon, not realizing you were going to Edinburgh. So I was actually kind of excited. Now I'm thinking, my sister's going to meet Wes in person for the first time.
I broke Nick's heart because I'd seen your post, but I didn't read it properly. So when obviously Nick was like, "Oh, I'm going to Ohio and I'm going to this Paracon," and I'm like, "Oh, you never guessed who's going, Nick?" I said, "Wes Coleman's going." And he went, "Oh, that's great. Is it?" And I was like, "Yes, I've seen the post." And then I went back to your post and looked and went, "Oh shit, it's not the same one." So I had to go back to Nick and say, "Nick, he's not there." I said, "It's a Penhurst." And then he was like,
Penhurst.
Yeah, he was a state away from me, but the problem is that where Penhurst is located, it's on the opposite side of Pennsylvania. So it was not like he was close to the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. So it would have still, unfortunately, been a very long distance for me to come out and see Wes at Penhurst if we had the option.
It's a massive state, Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly go through the comments because I'm building like nothing else. Wait to know, Kelly asked a question and I've lost it.
Here's a question from Lauren.
Wes, are you out of Canada? If so, do you know anyone with the last name? I don't even know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry.
Ontario?
Tarot, I think it is. You don't pronounce the H. It's a French name. You know what? I don't. But that's not to say, it's really funny because when I go to England to do investigations, people will go, "Oh, you're from Canada. Do you know John Smith from Alberta?" Like they don't really understand how like massive the country is. But the strangest thing is you do know them. Like it's
yeah.
I've met so many people that they ask that, and then I do end up knowing them. I mean, we're pretty massive. Well, we're the largest country and area in the world, so it's people are all over the place. But no, I don't know that name. But where are they from, Lauren? If you
Kelly
give me an idea what place.
What's that? That's a police officer. Lauren says, "Hey, why is it at every wedding reception the two main songs is the chicken dance and the hokey pokey song?"
Okay, that's the reason why. Hey, Viv.
Because we screw up.
That's not something I can answer. You'll have to talk to somebody from Oklahoma about that one.
Well, Lisa ain't that damn Baby Shark song. My God.
Oh my gosh.
Baby Shark, shark, shark.
Tuesday I did.
Yeah, I hate that song.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Anthony asked, who So, who has been in jail and had feeling that you've been followed by a shadow person?
Well, that definitely, there's a lot of activity within a jail. I mean, you can just imagine the emotions that are in a jail, and emotions and all that bent up activity that's in people's minds, the depression, and it just gets to be so strong, and things start to happen just from that activity. People die in there all the time, so there's a lot of very bad deaths where people have been murdered, and some people have died naturally, but I still think some of those spirits are still hanging around. Sorry, Nick, we lost Nick. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
Nick fell off the chair.
No,
Money on it, Nick fell off.
No, I actually introduced you guys to my cat that was nearby, but she was fighting with me, so she didn't want to make a guest appearance.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything on that topic.
Is it a voice
What
changer?
the hell? Yeah.
I'm not even asking.
It's
Well,
like an
Sarah,
elf,
says,
but it's Smurf.
one thing I've always wondered is, why is Wales, my home country, not well known in America? So she's
I know
asking
Wales
why
very well.
Yeah,
Wales is just a beautiful place. Like I love it there.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, for me, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like not as well known, because I know a lot of other. Same thing. It's like I know a lot of other investigators, who live throughout Wales. In fact, I guess you got to say my introduction to Wales, more importantly, was back in my high school days. We had a transfer student that came from Wales.
I totally agree with you. I feel like Nick is at the foundation of most of us. Oh, you got a big compliment happening to your boy is mine next Wednesday. You better fucking have him back by the Thursday, you asshole.
Alien vampires.
Oh, God.
If drama, just bring lots of gorilla glue. That'll teach them. Chris, what do you... Chris,
use gorilla tape. Not glue.
Oh my God.
That's even scarier.
Oh my
That's
God.
kind of creepy, actually.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Heidi.
Hey,
Nick was playing
there's
me
nothing
pussy.
like, pulling somebody over that's drunk or high on something. You go up to them and you do this.
My pleasure,
I
Sarah.
love doing this.
Kelly's got a question. Wes, what?
Okay, that's it for me, folks. Have a good night.
I was actually going to say, once the show's over, Wes is going to leave and go back, and it's going to be like, I'm never coming to the show again.
I'm gonna have to extend my therapy sessions.
Covered there.
Holy
water.
Kelly's asking, what protection do you do before going into any place, and have you ever had anything follow you home?
Well, that's a great question, and that certainly does happen. I definitely always say protection prayers before I go into a place and after. And I always tell the spirits to, not to follow me home. That doesn't always happen. You kind of hope that it won't, but occasionally that doesn't happen. I've been kind of lucky that that's never happened to me, but I've known individuals that's happened to, and it's a bit of a process to get that to stop.
I can imagine. I mean, there's been a few times where I've no used protection and I've brought something home with me. And there's a couple of psychics I've spoke to that have been like, your house is full of spirit. Mm-hmm. Do you do protection? And I'm like, no. I'm not going to lie, I don't. Mm-hmm. I really, really should. And I think the funniest one I ever had was I picked up a young chap. I would say probably a young boy, but not too young. That me and him had a good... Jacqueline Dixon was there when we were investigating, and the young boy's name was Richard. And I had a good bond, and he was round me for the full night. I went to another location, and I was doing an investigation with Robbie Crofton. There was me, Robbie Crofton, and Jacqueline Dixon, and we went to Kilwinning Abbey. And that same spirit from a different location followed me from that location to this location, and I couldn't. Every time I was trying to do an EVP, he was coming through, and it was nice, like, because I thought, having the same person come from one location to another location, it wasn't a bad energy. If anything, it was a good aura. It really, really was a good aura.
And the real day.
Lois, remember that's how you got pregnant in the first place, not you. Eric, I'm going to check your skins on Tuesday. Vivian says, hello, maybe Grizzly could lend him the gorilla tape.
Again with the gorilla tape and glue. Oh my god. Oh wait.
Aloe vera afterwards.
I love this. I love the comment, Lauren, here, man. I bet you're glad you decided to do this live.
I'm gonna need more therapy.
So,
I don't know why you're laughing.
So Wes, if I said, when are you coming on next?
Your voice is telling me to laugh.
I actually
so if I ask you,
actually did have a particular. I did have a particular question actually for you, Wes, because I remember I think you said this a while back, but like you just explained about how you try to keep certain entities from like when you try to tell these entities not to follow you back. Didn't you say that the prison that you work at is also a historic prison? So like, if that's the case, wouldn't there be like a lot of activity occurring in this particular prison that you work at?
Well, the prison I work at presently is fairly new. It's only about 30 years old. But the prison the oldest prison in Canada, which was decommissioned in 2014, is now a tourist attraction. So you can go in and do tours. They haven't yet allowed any kind of paranormal investigations to happen. Yet, it helps to know people that have keys. You know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah, it was built in 1835. That's Kingston Penitentiary, and it's made of limestone. All the walls are made of limestone, and if I don't know how many people are familiar with the stone tape theory, but limestone is a very good, conductor. Exactly.
That's what we got up here. We got Joliet Prison, which had been closed down since 2002, so well over 20 years. And it was about 5 years ago they finally started letting tours and also paranormal investigations into the correctional facility. And that entire prison itself was built out of limestone.
Yeah, it's incredible, really. Those. I mean, you can just feel the energy like stuck in there as soon as you go in. It's crazy.
Sorry, I'm messing about with the pictures. Please, they're going like that. No, it was just so I could see your beautiful faces closer.
That's a good question too. What Vivian said.
Vivian's asking, is easy to chisel out how many escapes.
Sorry, what was the question?
How many escapes have happened, Wes?
Like over the years, or like I've never had an escape happen when I was working, but it's so different than America. Like I don't know where Vivian's from, but
England. She's from England.
Oh, Vivian's from England.
Yep.
It's not very common as it is in other countries. I mean, I think the last person that tried to escape, it was in 1995, I'm going to say. And,
oh, wow.
And he was, apprehended a short time later. And actually he he was apprehended, but he killed himself before he was apprehended. So,
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it's not a very common thing here, which is a good thing.
So
Well,
why is that, Wes?
I'm sorry, Lois. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, on you go, my darling.
I was going to say, well, just recently, I don't know if any of you guys have heard about it on the news, but there was just a recent escape from one of the other prisons in Ohio of 2 inmates that managed to escape. Now they did find one of them, but unfortunately, I don't know the details or what the circumstances are. Unfortunately, one of the inmates is now pronounced dead. I don't know if it was suicide or he was shot and killed. I don't know. But the other inmate they still haven't found, so he remains at large.
Right.
Oh wow.
Well, I'll be honest with you. In Canada, we and there's good sides to it and bad sides to it, but they're like treated very well in prison. So a lot of them don't want to escape because it's worse on the outside for them than it is on the inside.
Right.
But it's we're noted as being, of course, we're from Canada, right? So we're noted as being one of the friendliest correctional services in the world, and I'm not sure, to a degree, I think it's good for rehabilitation because you want to try to be a positive role model, and because when they get out, you want to give them back tools that they can use. But obviously that's not always going to happen. Actually, most of the time it doesn't always happen, but that's the Canadian approach, and it's more like the Scandinavian approach too, like Norway and Sweden, Denmark. They all have that similar approach, where at the other end of the spectrum you have like China, which there's not a lawnmower on one of those prison properties there because all the inmates cut the grass with their hands.
Right.
So that's kind of the other end of the spectrum.
Interesting.
Yeah,
does it help with compliance when you have that morale? Does the compliance is it easier?
There's always issues. I mean, it's not always easy for the inmates to, like, some of them are just, if they get a hold of drugs, or like we have a big problem right now with drones, dropping drugs. So once you get like an individual that's on, some kind of a drug, it changes, obviously the way their behavior is, and you can't reason with somebody that's on like, meth or coke or something like that. Like it's very difficult. So then you do have to use a little more drastic measures to try to deal with the situation. But for the most part, over my 29-year career as a correctional officer, I've always believed that if you give respect, you get it back. And for the most part, that actually works. And, at the end of the day, I'm coming home to my family. So, I want to make sure that, I'm going to be, coming home, basically. So, I mean, I've been in situations, I was on the emergency response team at work for 20 years, which is like the riot team. And it's getting involved in situations where you're not sure if you're going to make it through or not. But if you see some of the inmates that go, oh, I know that guy, he's a decent guy, just do what he says, so it really helps to have that rapport with inmates, and it makes your job just a whole lot easier.
Do you know what, Wes? I think that's the important thing, is that that some of these people that actually go into prisons ain't actually bad people. They've just fell on hard times.
Yeah, like some of them,
especially like ones that, if you look at, and you hear this time and time again, it still goes on even to this day. Like when you look at different correctional facilities and the inmates that are there, and the backstories of what got them basically on this. And it's sad to know that a lot of these inmates, even if I'm even including even the ones who've committed the most worst crimes imaginable, that, you find out that they had abusive childhoods. They weren't taught the differences between right and wrong. They didn't have families or parents who loved them or, support them, or they were practically abandoned. So it's almost like the way how you've kind of described it, it's almost like they're giving like that second chance of like kind of in a way definitely being rehabilitated and kind of re-educating them to really kind of get them the understanding of, you know, differences between right and wrong, and also that guidance that they probably never had in their childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's but I always say, you know, when people use that, you know, and I completely understand that you come from a very dysfunctional childhood where you may have been abused, but I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you're an adult now, and you have to make the proper choice and want to become better. I mean, I always say, you know, when I have so many inmates on my caseload, so I'm also talking to inmates and making sure they're taking their programs and getting ready to get out at some point if that indeed is a solution. And I always tell them, you know, like, I can give you all the tools that you need, but you have to make the choice that you want to actually use them, because it's no good. Like, I can talk till my face, you know, falls off, but unless you really want that or have that desire to change, then I'm no good to you.
Right. Now, Irene makes a good point. Here's an example of like the prison system in Japan, and I actually am familiar with this. But she said that in Japan, prisons are very strict. But if you murder someone, you would be on death row and hung. And I know I've seen documentaries about that. Japan does have. I mean, as great as a country as it is, it has one of the toughest prison systems in the world, no doubt.
Vib's asking, the hooch in our prisons is a killer. Is it a problem in Canada?
Oh yeah, they're always trying to make it. It's you know, can be used. It's so easily to be made, and it's a constant like treasure hunt, basically, for us to find out all the different places they hide it. And anybody that doesn't know what hooch is, I mean, some people may not, but we call it brew in Canada, and it's like a homemade alcohol that you can make from fermenting anything from potatoes to oranges to anything. And you know, I've seen some stuff that, you know, like, you kind of look at and go, wow, this stuff is incredible. Like, it should be bottled. That's how good it is, you know. But not to say that, you know, after work I don't take some home with me, because that doesn't happen.
See, I knew there was something about you, Wes. Here's a question for both you guys, for Chris and for yourself, right? Being in that sort of environment, have you?
Hey, Charles.
I suppose it's how you word that.
Oh, Charles?
It's, have you ever made a friendship with the prisoners?
Never. Like a professional relationship. Like,
Yeah,
I have a guy on my caseload I've had on for 17 years. So
oh
I
wow.
know him, you know, I've known him like half of my career, basically, even more than half of my career. And we're on a first name basis, and you know, I ask him how his family is, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, when he gets out, like, is he going to be a friend of mine? Well, absolutely not. That's just not a question. I mean, it's a professional relationship, and that's as far as it goes.
That's what I mean, on a professional level. What about yourself, Chris?
So I look at it several ways. I rather talk to you for 13 minutes instead of fighting for 2 or 3. Okay, so my nickname was Dr. Phil, and I would have you in tears before we got to Sallyport. Sallyport in America is jail, the booking, and there's a reason why it's called Sallyport. And I don't know if it started in Canada or England, but there's a girl that worked in the booking, and she got murdered in the part where they pull them into and book them into. Her name was Sally. That's why I call it Sallyport. But it has saved me many times being with family in public from being shot and stabbed, sitting in restaurants, for treating people with dignity and respect, and not humiliating them in front of their friends, families, and whoever else, neighbors. And to have that professional working relationship with them, no matter what they have done. You know, there's a right way and a wrong way to talk to people, and there's a right way and a wrong way to handle things. You know, and I know I made a comment earlier if you didn't follow our directions, we would knock out your window and drag you out. Well, we had to set guidelines because people on YouTube would see this in other states and like, well, we can do it here, right? In our policy, department policy, when I was on county, was you ask once, they don't do it. You ask twice, you pop them with the taser. And the reason why we did that, our department switched policies and went, too many officers and corrections officers were getting hurt and injured on the job because there's a continuum force level. So what that means is Nick does something to me, I can go up a notch or two to subdue him or to take control. And that's the continuum level of force. But during this process over the years, a lot of officers, corrections officers were losing their lives, getting badly injured and retiring early because of the injuries and so forth. So they changed a lot of departments over here, policies regarding that. But there's been times where I have code words with family members and friends where I'm out in public and I'll say one word and they know to scatter and just like disappear. And they don't even know me. They don't hang around me in the store. And because there's been times where I'll be sitting at a restaurant and my daughter will be like, did you lock those two guys up like over in the corner? Because they're like been staring at us since we sat down. And I turn around and like, try not to look, right? To make eye contact. So, because you never sit with your back towards the door, and Wes will always tell you that. And there's reasons why we do that, ladies and gentlemen. But there's been many times, there's been many times where I've seen people out locked up for some very serious crimes and for many, many years, and they're approaching the table and I'm thinking, it's going to be bad. This is going to end up very bad. Somebody is going to die and people are going to get hurt in this scenario. It's getting ready to happen in front of 75 people in this restaurant. And they come up and they pat you on the back. They're like, you know what? You changed my life. And they start crying and they want to give you a hug. I mean, are you not going to give a hug back? You're damn right. You're going to hug them back, because if you don't do that in front of everybody, you just disrespected him, right? Because now, like Wes says, he's going to say that guy over there, he's a cool cat. The other guys treated me like dirt, but Grizzly stuck up for me and he took care of me when I went to jail. He checked on me. He made sure I was treated right. And he didn't treat me like an ass in front of all my friends and family when I was acting like a monkey. So I have respect for him. And that does, Wes, go a long way. And I applaud you for that, because that's really hard to do.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that, everything that, you said is bang on, and it was well said. The only thing is when you hug the guy, just don't grab him by the butt, because that's just not necessary.
What if they ask you to?
That being said, I've been used for remote viewing to tell an officer where contraband was being stashed, and while they were on a lockdown, they sent dogs in and found a mother load exactly where I said it was. Have you ever done that or heard of that before?
No, we've never used any psychics or anything at work. That's never actually happened. But that's incredible. I'm sorry.
Most police departments won't or don't.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those fields where
anyway.
It depends on who's in charge of the actual the police or the correctional environment, whether they use that or not. I mean, they're used widely now. I know for psychics are used widely, like to solve a lot of crimes. And there are some psychics that are better than others, maybe not better than others, but some that are more in tune with certain crimes than others. And it's awesome. It really is. And I was never a believer in that, never, until, like, as I said, about 5 years working into the paranormal. And I realized there is a lot more to it than just sitting down and taking evidence. There's so much more. So I started to become more of a believer in the spiritual aspect and psychics. But I mean, good psychics are, in my mind, are very few and far between. But I mean, you have to be very careful.
Yeah. So in America, Wes, is that they will use psychics, but like Rosy said, most of the times they won't call them psychics. Because they can't have affiliation with them, because you can't go in front of the prosecutor or you all call the judge and say, how'd you get your information? Well, so-and-so Bronson told me this is where I need to go to find the body, and that's where he found it. Now, they do call them advisors in other terms over here, but they will not call them psychics or people with abilities because the court of law and them putting them on a testimonial.
It's not admissible in court to be officially put on there as I got this information and
that is correct.
Like piece of evidence from a psychic.
So, Wes, you would come to me and be like, look, this is off the record, but I'm working this case and I'm having problems. I want you to look into it for me. Now, I would tell you what I would get from remote viewing, right? And I would see the scene and I would figure out what happened and where the body is you're trying to find is located and give you an area. Now, what you would do is take that information and go get your cadaver dogs and other teams of search parties and go out there. And when you do find that body, it's not because a grizzly told you, it's because of your old research team and your cadaver dogs. And that's how they use them over here.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's hush-hush. And in that, you have to have a certain accuracy level to be involved with the FBI,
and even some
CIA,
of the most accurate psychics have messed up on death cases.
Eric wants to know how, Wes, how did you get into the paranormal?
It's something I've been interested in ever since I was a kid, and I started actually watching a show a lot of Americans don't know because it was kind of pre-Ghost Hunters, but Most Haunted from England. I used to watch that constantly, and that's what kind of that's what kind of got me into thinking, geez, I didn't know there's actually, you could organize a group and go to places and do things like that, and that was like, I don't know, around the early 1990s, I'm going to say.
That was early 2000s, actually. Like maybe 1999.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
like,
see you later, boss lady.
So it just kind of encouraged me to, pursue it. And as I say, I didn't form a team until 2008. But I had some experiences as a child. And I read the first book I ever read about the paranormal. I was in grade 3 and I got it from a book fair, and it's called Some Canadian Ghosts.
Wow, you still got it.
Oh, wow.
I still have it. It's printed back in and that's the author there. Her name's Sheila Hervey. She's passed away now. I unfortunately was unable to contact her. She passed away before I really got into the field, but I really wanted to, get a hold of her, and I tracked down her kids. I was talking to her kids, and they said, no, she's passed away. And I, told them, I say, I just want to thank you for giving me that, that push in the back to pursue, the paranormal. And it's been a great experience. And I just, as I say, I don't get caught up in the drama with things. I'm in the paranormal to prove things to myself. I'm not out there trying to be a movie star or a TV star or anything like that. A lot of paranormal investigators, when they're first starting out, like, you have to kind of decide, okay, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for me? Do I want to find the answers, or am I trying to become a star on TV? Which, a lot of people, they do. And that doesn't interest me. I love telling people my stories. And I always say, like, it's up to you. If you want to believe it, you can. If you don't believe it, that's fine too. And then you relieve yourself from all that stress. You don't have to take it in. You don't have to take things personally. It's.
Yeah. Oh no, I totally get you.
Saying,
I get the long hair look. I get the long hair look from Lois. I've been waiting for this.
So Lauren here says, Wes, find out where she's laid to rest. You can go there and thank her.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great idea. That might be a little more difficult now because I don't know. I'm talking like 10 years ago. I was talking to the kids via email.
Right.
It's certainly some. I don't even think you need to go to a graveyard to talk to somebody, right? That you
not really
have an appreciation for. But it's a good point. I totally respect what you're saying. That's a great point.
And Irene makes a good point of what she's.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Irene makes a really good point here, saying we do this for the love paranormal. And that's basically like how the majority of us are.
Yep, definitely. And that's why we do these shows every week, is because it's to really show you guys that we're chilled out and what we're like at home. I know there is investigators who are dead chilled out, and we are all for the one aim.
Yeah, you know, just I don't know if you guys have heard. I mean, if you guys heard a few days ago, I actually got a few days ago. I got a message from a woman that asked me to investigate her bar. No, wait, no, it was Lois knows. Actually, I forgot Lois knows this. So it was a bar and restaurant that had never been investigated before. So we managed
All
to
right,
go.
sorry, I thought you were telling us about the chick that asked you. All right, sorry, wrong one.
No, it was that investigation I was telling you about, which went really well, actually. But you know, even when I was investigating this, you know, I'm just like everybody else. When I got to this place and I checked it out, I was not doing it. Obviously, again, like some of these other like you just mentioned, like not trying to be famous or anything like that. I did it because I enjoy doing this stuff. I love it. So, and it was really an honor. In this case, it was really an honor that I get to investigate a location that was never investigated before. So again, I do it because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Eric's asking, what was the scariest place you've ever investigated?
Me? You're asking me that?
Yes.
Well, I've been so fortunate to be able to investigate a lot of amazing locations, and every one of them has its own unique experiences. But I would have to say, like the top one in in England, Scotland. Well, there'd probably be two of them. I went to Aleister Crowley's cottage down in Cornwall.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that was mind blowing. And it's called the Cairn Cottage, and it was incredible. And then in Scotland, I was very fortunate to be able to spend the entire night on Mary King's Close by myself.
Oh, wow.
Which is, I mean, Lois said, I don't know how many other people would know Mary King's Close, but it was just an incredible experience. Just loved it. And
is that by the ocean?
okay, am I missing something here? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to keep a straight face. So.
Look,
Is
right,
Mary
Lauren
King's
said she wanted to see how notorious Nick was, and I was just commenting Nick was showing her his equipment.
Is Mary King's Close near the ocean?
No,
no, it's in Edinburgh, like right in the middle of well, it's not. I mean, it's not too far away from the bridge there. What's it called?
I've heard of it, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, Lois, what's the name of the famous bridge that goes across the? Oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart. But anyway,
I know exactly what bridge you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right, that's what's bothering me.
Anyway. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
Edinburgh?
So it is just outside of Edinburgh, actually.
Is it?
Is it the fourth? Is it the fourth bridge?
Because I've heard of
yeah,
that.
Firth of Forth. That's it. Firth of Forth. Yeah, that's so that's close to the ocean, and Edinburgh is basically on that. It's like an inlet that comes in from the North Sea. And then the other famous location that I really enjoyed was in America. My top two are the Queen Mary and the Stanley Hotel. Both were incredible.
I've been to the Stanley Hotel myself, so I know the feeling. I mean, we didn't get to investigate it, but we've been through different parts of the hotel. Yep. Damn it, you guys are killing me here.
He said, "I know."
Sorry, Wes. Sorry, Wes. This show just turns into a riot. I am sorry. I do apologise. If you don't want to come back again, I'm so sorry. Please do.
I'm just sorry I can't read all the comments.
Like basically, what we do from time to time, poor Nick, he always gets to every week, but he takes it really, really well, is that it turns into carnage. Nick has become our point of, let's get a girlfriend for Nick. So we always say, let's get a girlfriend.
That's literally happening in almost every show except for my show that damn, I mean, by the end of it, you guys make my ribs hurt like hell.
But guys, I just want to thank Wes for taking his time out and coming to the Mad House.
There is something I got to bring up quickly. Finish up with what you're saying, Lois, and then it's actually something pretty serious. But finish up with what you were saying first.
No. Right, if yours is seriouser than mine, I can wait.
Yeah, it's actually a request for Lauren. Lauren, once again, if you guys haven't heard, Lauren, she's got a surgery that's going to be tomorrow. I think it's called the rhizotomy. I think I finally have. I think I'm saying that correctly now. She's having a rhizotomy in her lower spine tomorrow, which, in other words, she's been dealing with degenerative disc disease for over 15 years, and this procedure is going to stop the nerve connection between the damaged area in her back to her brain. And when she messaged me this, I was actually kind of scared. I thought, is this like going to be could this be fatal?
Sounds high risk.
Unfortunately, it's not. From what she told me, is it's not fatal, but it's going to be extremely painful by the time it's all over. So not only just for everybody here on the show, but for everyone else on the networks, and of course, obviously for the viewers, if you guys are inclined to do this, and if you want to, you guys can definitely send, some healing prayers, vibes, and energy for her, because she's gonna, especially after the surgery, she's gonna need all the help and prayers and healing energy that she can get, not only just from us and here in the States, but from around the world. So just wanted to point that out, and hopefully wish her luck, because it's gonna be a rough day for her tomorrow.
I'm just typing out the note. But I just want to thank you, Wes, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please come back. I don't know if I'm coming back, but I'll come back. Next week, guys, we are going to obviously speak to Chris, because it's the way it's happened. I've booked Wes, and then Chris came not even last week, a couple of days ago. So we've kind of that kind of way where I've 10 Wes first. So next week, guys, we're going to get to know Chris. You can ask him any questions, you can drill him as much as you want. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the shows. Without you guys, we wouldn't have these shows. So we do appreciate it, guys. We really, really do. And thank you very much, Wes, for coming. You guys enjoy your week. Your week, okay? And we'll see you tomorrow on Frighteners, when we have Ian White, who is a writer from Norwich. So it will be a good show, guys. But you all take care. Right, and we'll be
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and it was nice meeting you all. You're very interesting people, and I guess you've cut it. Sorry.
Sorry, I haven't cut it yet. It's fine. But I'm sure you're going to have a lie down in a dark room after this, Wes.
No, you guys are great. I love that. It's so off the cuff, and I think we should start our own paranormal comedy show.
You know what? We're always looking for more shows.
That's in the horizon.
We're always looking. Wes, we're always looking for new shows, to be honest with you. So, but I was actually going to bring up quickly. Speaking of shows, I think this might have been the last time that we ever chatted, on a chat like this. That was on Matt TV.
Oh yeah.
So I'm actually going to be reaching out to him some point, and we're going to try. He's going to try to do another show like this with us. So I'm going to try to get you on that one too. So hopefully we can.
Sure, just my normal fees apply, right?
You get entertained with a toy lady.
I'll keep you notified. I appreciate.
I
appreciate that, Nick, and I'll I'll make sure you get a couple of get out of jail free cards too.
I think soap on the rope's a little better for that term.
You need to have corn in your background, Nick, or butter.
Corn, yeah.
Well, you certainly know all about that, Grizz. So
Yeah, I could not work inside like you. That's why I stayed on the outside. So yeah, I couldn't do it.
Well, I couldn't do it in the U.S. to be honest with you. There's no way I could because I like to consider myself a people person. So I don't think that's really the kind of person you'd want as a CO down in the States, because I think it's more about security and
I have worked with a lot of them, and they're just,
definitely. We'll catch up with you next time, guys. See you later.
Okay, we'll see you. Thanks for everything.